George Harrison, Soul of the Beatles, an audio biography, written by Geoffrey Giuliano, narrated by Geoffrey Giuliano.
While George sometimes temporarily neglected to follow the many arduous rules and regulations traditionally required of those involved with orthodox yoga, he remained true in his heart to the goal. Harrison's walk with the Venerable Maharishi Mahesh Yogi began on August 24th, 1967, when the Beatles went to hear the Guru speak at the Hilton Hotel in London. Afterward, the Maharishi invited them to a 10-day conference in Bangor, North Wales, starting the next day. George especially was genuinely excited about the prospect of hooking up with someone who it seemed might be able to finally provide some clarity in his often complicated, stressful life. On August 27th, the Beatles were formally initiated into the Maharishi Society, but some distressing news suddenly came through from London. Their manager, Brian Epstein, was dead from an overdose of bromide, a prescription sleeping pill. Although the Beatles were naturally concerned about how Epstein's untimely demise might affect their careers and thus their staggering collective fortunes, for George Harrison the tragedy only encouraged his further retreat into the yogic philosophy that by now consumed him. It was with great enthusiasm and optimism all around, therefore, that George, John, their wives, and a few close friends arrived at New Delhi Airport on the morning of February 16, 1968, to begin serious study with the Maharishi at his extravagant Rishikesh mountain-top retreat. At the end of a rugged 150-mile drive to the ashram, the celebrated disciples were warmly welcomed by the diminutive guru with a shower of encouraging words and endless cups of steaming almond tea on the veranda of his comfortable bungalow situated in the heart of the rambling camp. A couple of days later, Ringo, Paul, and their entourage of lovers and friends arrived along with a throng of representatives from the world's press to a tumultuous welcome from the entire camp. As one day slipped casually into the next and the initial excitement of the trip subsided, the boys' pent-up tensions slowly began to unravel under the magic spell of the Maharishi's Transcendental Meditation, or TM. Soon, however, the inevitable happened, and the Beatles' fascination with meditation slowly began to subside. After all, sitting hour after hour silently muttering a Sanskrit syllable to oneself, no matter how exotic the locale, did tend to get a little boring. Ringo and his wife, Maureen, left after only 10 days. Paul and his girlfriend, actress Jane Asher, managed to stick it out for some 6 weeks before jetting home. That left just John and George, the Maharishi's most ardent believers. So besotted were they with the bearded holy man that even when a rumor circulated that the Maharishi had made a very definite bid for the earthly affections of Rishikesh meditator actress Mia Farrow, they were loath to believe it. Within a week, Farrow had gone on a tiger hunt in the south. It was suggested by the Maharishi's staff that she would be returning shortly thereafter. She never did. Within a few days, John and George became reluctantly convinced of the Guru's alleged impropriety and stormed out of their bungalows and phoned for a taxi from the ashram's dining hall. Like the initial allure of global Beatlemania, the disappointing reality of soft drugs, and the broken promise of the hippie culture the Beatles had toyed with and eventually rejected, transcendental meditation, the Maharishi, and all the mystical hoopla that went with it was now just another bad trip. One in a series of numberless disappointments that had come hand in hand with the unparalleled fame, fortune, and entree that came with being a Beatle. Although George Harrison still deeply believed in the concepts of yoga and meditation, the Rishikesh roller coaster he rode with the giggly guru could clearly not deliver him to the lofty spiritual destination he so desperately sought. Next up are several vintage snippets of conversation with the Maharishi, recorded during his all-too-brief heyday as the Beatles' spiritual master.
I preach a simple system of transcendental meditation which gives the people the insight into life, and they begin to enjoy all peace and happiness. And because this has been the message of all the saints in the past, they call me saint.
You seem also to have caught the imagination of the pop stars in this country.
What is this pop star?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?